Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about how damn painful it can be to be associated with something that requires a lot of you as a human being. So let's get into it. Now, why am I being so dramatic? Well, I actually have a really good reason for being dramatic today. You see, it used to be that I had this job title called front-end developer or front-end specialist, if you will. And you see, that might sound really cool and really awesome and sound good in a CV. It sounds really good if you can say it with the right flair in a job interview, because every single human being that works with you and all your bosses and so forth, they think the same thing when you say that thing. The first thing that they think is, oh, cool, this person is really great with front end. That means that we can have this person as some type of expert on something that we don't care about or that we don't have any idea of how to do. So that's great, we can have someone who does that. That's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is that you get to be the front-end guy or girl for the rest of your time in any company. Now, I've made a video previously where I state, and this is still the case, if you get associated with the big feature or anything like that, if you ship something that is either big money for the company or it's something that in the company's from the company's perspective or the people working at your company's perspective is something that you can put a label on, you own it for the rest of your time there. You become the expert. And trust me, being the expert sucks really, really, really hard if you are in the wrong company. And in front end, there is no such thing as the right company. It's actually one of the main reasons why why I would love to work for one of the big gigantic companies such as Google and to really see if there is a difference. Because so far, even at my previous job where it was also a really large company, it didn't matter. As a front-end developer, you are doomed to have to work in an environment where everybody's just happy to have you there, but they don't give a toss about your profession or the thing that you are a specialist in. And it sucks really hard. So I'll tell you what happened today, because this is kind of what triggered this entire discussion. So my CTO had this idea, right? He said that we needed to have more innovation in the company. Sorry, it's a little bit windy here. And so, genius idea. Let's have a representative for each of the fields within our application. In other words, a representative for ops, a representative for backend, and of course, a representative for frontend. And this was, of course, based on interest, just interest. So he asked all the developers, do I have any volunteers to be the voice of these areas in our company and to push innovation and take responsibility to make sure that we are relevant and that we innovate in these areas? And one of my colleagues took the responsibility for the ops immediately. Passionate guy, he's really good at that, so he wanted to take care of that. And we very quickly found that one of our more senior people at the company, who is a Scala expert, he very naturally became the spokesperson for the backend, which is, of course, all in Scala. But nobody wanted the front-end job. No one. Not even yours truly. I didn't raise my hand. I went to the bathroom and then I came out, and then my dear colleagues had gathered around, and very carefully my CTO said, Frederick, there was a suggestion that maybe you would like to be the front-end expert or the front-end representative. And then I said, no, thank you, I'm good. And there was this subtle indication to a little bit, you could almost taste the surprise. I could taste it with my tongue. And then I said, you see, the reason why I don't want the position is because I've been on this journey before. And I've already seen enough at this company to know that this is just an ordinary company when it comes to front-end development. And my CTO and my colleagues like, what do you mean? Well, I mean that you care so little about your front-end code that whoever is dumb enough to take this job is going to get their soul crushed if they truly care about front-end. So you're much better off by simply getting any random person who has a vague interest in doing JavaScript or CSS. Because anybody who really cares about front-end is going to die inside from from being in this position. And this was, of course, a very strong statement. And my immediately like, what do you mean by that? And they started asking. I mean, it's not, that's not the position we're talking about. And I said, no, absolutely. What you're selling this as is that the person who takes this responsibility is going to be the person who drives innovation and improvements and all that good stuff. But see, that's only fun if the thing because at the end of the day, the company is still going to decide what we're going to work with and what we're not going to work with and what's going to be prioritized and so forth. And you are in charge regardless of what direction things take, which means that you have basically become the maid. And my colleague asked, what do you mean by the maid? And I said, well, because the problem with your front-end code is not that there's not enough innovation, that there's not enough cool features, or that you don't have enough, how do I put it, you don't innovate enough. The problem is that the code base is absolute shit and nobody cares. That's the problem. The problem is that the code base is neglected to the point where as a lot of companies do, they realize that they need someone to come in and to do the cleanup duty. And I've already been the maid 2 years now, or rather before I joined this company. For 2 years I was the maid. All I did was to try to innovate a front-end code base that was so horrendously bad that I spent more time just trying to get the company to allow me to clean things up. And I'm sorry, and I said that's why I don't want to do this, because I don't want to do this again. And the sad part of this is that, and I explained this to them as well, the sad part is that it takes that I can prove with certainty that this is the situation here as well by just asking, what are the problem areas in our code base? Half of my colleagues couldn't answer, and the ones who actually had really good answers were all saying stuff of, first answer was really good. Well, our build pipe isn't so nice. We have a lot of legacy that we kind of need to improve, and we are on an old version of Webpack, and then we have this issue with assets loading, and that we have a lot of inconsistencies in the code base. And then I just let them keep on kind of acknowledging, or rather justifying my point or validating my point. And so I turned to my CTO and I said, this is exactly what I mean. Because the person I was pointing to, my colleague who was in the back end, the representative, you see, that person, my colleague there, his two first things that he gets to do is to create an AI system that categorizes our incoming emails to try to figure out what is something that we can just automatically reply to, or something that we need to actually to figure out ourselves. And the ops person is going to be the person who gets to improve our infrastructure, improve logging, and basically build up his own skill set and be in charge of making decisions on behalf of operations. The front-end guy is the sucker who's going to have to sit and churn through 1 million lines of legacy code to just make the damn thing nice again. It's basically cleanup duty. It has nothing to do with innovation. And I said, don't tell me that it's innovation to add another library, because that's actually part of the problem. And my colleague, one of my junior coworkers asked me, like, what do you mean by like it's cleanup duty? And I said, because you are basically in a soul-crushing position. Because just imagine this. Imagine that you took the time to clean up a set of really nasty code. Reduce a few library dependencies that weigh down, because frontend has a lot to do with these two things. The two biggest things in frontend is performance and scalability over time. Those are the two biggest things that you need to deal with in order to be a successful front-end developer. The problem is that this is a very hard position to be in a company where the people don't care. And basically what I said to my colleague was that you will see me, and it's happened so many times. What usually happens is that I spend a lot of time improving things and making them nice and so forth, and reducing the load on the page, or either the amounts of assets we're sending in, and all it takes is one story to come around where we have a tight deadline or something, and you don't want to put in the work to actually make a nice implementation, and you just add another dependency, and all of a sudden we're back to depending on all of jQuery in order to just use the Ajax, and all the work that I just put in, all the soul and heart that I put in, it's worth nothing now. That's the situation that you are in if you are a front-end specialist for the most part. So my other colleague then kind of asked about, well, that's not how it is here. Like we care about the front end code. And I said, all right. So why aren't you not making all these improvements? So and he kind of, I'm not really all that. It's not really my forte. And you just have to tell me what to do, and I will do it. And you won't have these problems with getting everybody on board. And I said, thank you for proving my point. And he kind of stopped and said, what do you mean, proved your point? Well, you just said that all I have to do is to tell you what to do and you will do it. Which means that you care, what I'm saying is that you care so little about what's happening in the front-end code that you don't even bother to research these things and get good at them. That's the problem. See, I wouldn't have to tell you all of these things if you put any effort at all into understanding what it is that you are doing. Because I find it kind of funny, and I said this to them, what I think is funny is that I can keep up with you all step by step on the server. I know as much about the server code as everybody here. But I'm the only one here that has my level of understanding of the front-end code, and most of you have absolutely no idea how to maintain that project. Do you see the problem? When you are a front-end developer or a front-end specialist, because once again, you can be just a developer who isn't, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. This is where I try to be in this company, because I realized that at my last company, how horrible it is to be labeled a front-end specialist. Because when you are a front-end specialist, you get labeled as a front-end specialist, you are almost alone. At least from my experience, and I told them this as well. It's a very lonely place to be, because it's like people mistreat the front-end code so much that if you actually care about the thing, it's going to crush you to see how little people care. So that's why I don't want the job, because I know what's going to happen. It's going to end with me sitting here trying to fix the mess that you all produce. And all it really takes for us to have a nice front-end code base is for you to give it as much respect as you give your precious server-side code. So guys, this is my tip to you, and this is a big one, so listen up now. If you love front-end and web performance and all that good stuff, get really good at that, but never let them put the front-end specialist label on your chest. Because they will treat you as this, as I said, a cleaner or a maid, then that's it. Have a great day.